The greasy smell of burnt oil hit Mason the moment he pushed through the kitchen doors. He'd walked into boardrooms worth billions, shaking hands with presidents. But standing here in a stained apron with Mike scribbled on his name tag felt stranger than any of it. "Mike, stop standing there like a statue," barked Chef Luis, gesturing wildly at a mountain of dirty dishes. "Those plates aren't going to wash themselves." Mason nodded quickly and moved toward the industrial sink. 3 days ago, he'd been sitting in his penthouse office reviewing quarterly reports for Hale Hospitality Group, his restaurant empire spanning 42 locations across the country. The numbers looked perfect. Profits up, costs down, everything running like clockwork. Then came the anonymous email. "Your people are suffering. If you care about anything beyond your bank account, see it for yourself. Start at location 14, Riverside." Now, elbow deep in soapy water, Mason watched the kitchen staff move around him like parts of a broken machine. Nobody smiled. Nobody talked unless necessary. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Hey, new guy." Mason turned to find a young waitress standing behind him. She couldn't have been more than 25, with tired eyes that looked decades older. Her name tag read Ruby. "Listen, I don't know you, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but..." She hesitated, fingers twisting the edge of her apron. "Please don't go near the walk-in freezer. Something's going wrong in the back." Before Mason could respond, a sound erupted from the far corner of the kitchen. Bang, bang, bang. The noise was unmistakable. Someone pounding desperately from inside the walk-in freezer. Mason's blood went cold. "Is someone in there?" Bang, bang, bang. The sound grew more frantic, more desperate. Ruby's face went pale. She started toward the freezer, but a hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. "Back to your station, Ruby." The voice belonged to Cole Bennett, the restaurant manager. He was a thick-shouldered man in his 40s with a smile that never reached his eyes. "It's the pipes. Old building. Happens all the time." The pounding continued, each strike sounding weaker than the last. Mason's instinct screamed, everything about this moment was wrong. "Shouldn't we at least check?" Mason said, keeping his tone casual. Cole's eyes snapped to him, and for just a second Mason saw something dark flash across the manager's face. "Mike, is it? First day jitters. I get it. But trust me, you stick your nose where it doesn't belong in this kitchen and you won't make it to day 2. The pounding from the freezer stopped. Complete silence. Ruby's eyes filled with tears as she rushed back to the dining area. That evening in the parking lot, Ruby found Mason. "The person in the freezer, that was my little brother, Liam. He's 17. He works prep in the back, and he's been trying to report safety violations for months. But every time he tries, Cole shuts him down. Why would Cole lock him in a freezer? Punishment." Today, Liam told the health inspector about the broken refrigeration units. "Cole said if I make trouble, we both lose our jobs, and we can't. We need this money. Our mom is sick, and we're barely keeping the lights on. I'm going to help you, Ruby. I promise you that." She studied his face. "There's a warehouse about 2 miles from here. I heard employees talking once. They said similar things happen there. People getting hurt, complaints disappearing." She gave him the address. Mason investigated the warehouse that night. The walk-in freezers had no emergency release handles on the inside. Someone had deliberately removed them. Behind a false panel, he found a box filled with employee incident reports, all stamped, reviewed, no action required. At the bottom, a memo: "Safety equipment reductions will increase quarterly margins by 37%. Corporate oversight unnecessary. Approved by Executive Council." Someone at the highest levels of his company had approved putting employees in danger to save money. The next day, Mason slipped into his headquarters archives. Henry Blake's personnel file showed him as assistant manager, but Henry had been Mason's co-founder, his best friend, 50-50 partner since 2002. Someone had rewritten history. The partnership agreements were gone. Financial ledgers had been altered to show Mason as sole owner. Then Mason overheard voices in the hallway. His CFO, Victoria Chin. "The Blake situation is contained. The family never knew about the trust fund we dissolved. Mason never even looks at these old files. We've saved $17 million over 3 years by reducing safety compliance." He signs off on quarterly summaries, but he doesn't read the details anymore. They'd stolen from Henry's family and endangered workers while using his trust as cover. That evening, Mason visited Ruby's home and froze. On the mantel sat the original Hale hospitality crest, the one he designed with Henry Blake 23 years ago. Ruby's mother Sarah revealed the truth. That was my husband's. Henry Blake. He co-founded the company with Mason Hale back in 2002. They were best friends since college. Her expression darkened. Then Henry got cancer. Mason sent a check for $50,000 after the funeral, then nothing. No trust fund, no continued support. Mason felt like he'd been punched. He'd set up $1 million trust for Henry's family. Someone had stolen it all. And Ruby and Liam had no idea their father was a co-founder. They'd been working minimum wage in his restaurant while their inheritance was stolen. When Liam collapsed from delayed hypothermia trauma, Mason called an ambulance. Cole attacked him and was arrested. Victoria filed an emergency injunction to remove Mason as CEO, claiming he'd had a mental breakdown. At the board meeting, Mason played recordings of Victoria discussing the fraud. He revealed the original partnership agreement, proving Henry's ownership. Henry Blake's children are entitled to their inheritance, Mason declared. Every dollar you stole belongs to them. Victoria Chin is fired effective immediately. The Blake family will receive full restitution, and this company will be completely restructured with worker safety as the top priority. Victoria stood, her composure shattering. You were off playing hero while I was keeping us profitable. Our stock price tripled. You built it on stolen money and broken people. Mason said quietly. As security escorted her out, she hissed, You'll fail without people like me. Maybe, Mason said, but at least I'll fail with my soul intact. 3 weeks later, Mason stood outside the renovated restaurant with Ruby, now co-owner of the multi-billion-dollar company. A new sign read, Blake and Hale Family Restaurant. Established 2002. Liam was recovering well. The doctors said full recovery would take 6 months, but he'd be okay. I still can't believe this is real, Ruby said. 3 weeks ago, I was a waitress barely making rent. You're my partner, just like your father was. You know what it's like to be the worker instead of the boss. That perspective is exactly what this company needs. Sarah Blake wheeled herself out. The new kitchen looks wonderful. Henry would have loved it. Mason showed them architectural renderings. This is the new headquarters building. I'm proposing we build it here in Riverside and name it the Henry Blake Memorial Building. He continued, I'm establishing the Henry Blake Foundation dedicated to supporting restaurant workers. Education grants, emergency assistance, healthcare subsidies. Funded with 5% of company profits in perpetuity. Sarah pressed a hand to her mouth, tears streaming. Henry told me something in the hospital right before he died. He said, Tell Mason to never forget why we started this. It was never about the money. It was about building something good. Mason's throat tightened. I forgot. But I remember now. Good, Sarah said. Because my family is counting on you. And so are all those workers in all those restaurants who just want to be treated with dignity. Ruby hugged him. Thank you for keeping your promise, for giving us back our father's legacy. Thank you for reminding me what that legacy was supposed to be. As the sun set over Riverside, the bronze letters caught the last light of day, shining like a promise. Blake and Hale Family Restaurant. Built together, bound forever. Mason thought of Henry, his friend, his partner. I won't forget again, he whispered. I promise. And this time, Mason Hale intended to keep that promise for the rest of his life.